3 days later, at the arraignment, I learned the full extent of what Karen was facing. Felony charges of criminal damage, reckless endangerment, and assault with a deadly weapon.
Anasa.
Charges of criminal damage, reckless endangerment. The prosecutor also added hate crime enhancements due to the targeted nature of her actions against a person with a disability. If convicted on all counts, she could face up to 7 years in prison and fines exceeding $50,000.
Anasa. Anasa.
Karen's face drained of all color as the judge denied her attorney's request for the charges to be reduced to misdemeanors. The defendant demonstrated a willful and malicious intent to cause harm.
Anasa.
The judge stated firmly.
Anasa. 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 DN.
The court takes crimes targeting vulnerable individuals very seriously. As they led Karen away, she looked over her shoulder at me, her expression a mix of hatred and disbelief. Unable to comprehend that her actions had consequences, that her power had limits, that in the real world you can't just crash into someone's car because you don't like where they're parked. I never imagined the day would come when someone would intentionally crash their vehicle into mine. The sound of screeching tires brought my head up from my phone. I stood by in shock as a white SUV sped straight toward my parked Honda. The ghastly sound of crunching metal and glass shattering resonated through our otherwise peaceful suburban complex. For an instant, I simply stood there immobile on the sidewalk, my cane almost slipping from my hand. Then the door of the SUV burst open and out stormed Karen Wilson, her face twisted with anger, designer shades sitting atop her highlighted bob. "You think you're so entitled?" she yelled, pointing at me as neighbors started to come out of their houses. "I am so tired of individuals like you believing the rules do not apply." A few neighbors already had phones out recording the drama unfolding. I could not believe my eyes. The president of the HOA had just intentionally run into my car, the car I relied on to attend physical therapy after surgery. This nightmare began just 6 weeks ago when I moved into Oakwood Estates, with 3 tours in Stan and a last deployment that saw me sporting a titanium rod in my leg. I was ready to enjoy some quiet time. The VA assisted me in locating this property, a simple 2-bedroom unit in a nicely kept complex. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and the bylaws of our complex, I was given a designated disabled parking space near the entrance of my unit to aid my temporary mobility problems after undergoing recent corrective surgery. I also met Karen in my first week. She presented herself with clipboard in hand, not a welcome basket. "I'm Karen Wilson, the president of the Oakwood Estates HOA," she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She glanced at my cane, then at the disabled parking permit suspended from my rear-view mirror. I could nearly see the cogs whirring in her brain. "That space is typically reserved for permanent residents who have more significant disabilities," she said with a sniff. I courteously told her that the building manager had tasked me with it, and I showed her my paperwork and permit. She walked away with a forced smile and a vow to investigate. I figured that was it. I was mistaken, so horribly mistaken. The harassment began quietly, a windshield note telling me I might want to park in regular spaces when I'm feeling well enough. Then a formal-looking violation notice for the misuse of designated parking, which was later confirmed by the building manager to be unauthorized and not from the legitimate HOA board. When I had installed a dash cam for security, Karen changed techniques. She would schedule her trips to the mailbox while I was coming or going, and make comments just loud enough for me to hear. There are those who believe that their military service means they are entitled to special treatment for the rest of their lives. Or my cousin sustained the same injury and he does not qualify for special parking. Each remark aimed at irritating me, so I would question if I was deserving of the accommodation my doctors had ordered. I attempted to explain it to her. I told her that my disability was temporary, only until I finished physical therapy. I presented her with my doctor's notes and official records. I even volunteered to relinquish the spot on days when my pain was tolerable. Nothing worked. If anything, my efforts at compromise only seemed to make her more determined. 3 weeks into my residency, I wrote to the HOA board regarding Karen's behavior. The response was lukewarm at best. "We realize you have concerns, but parking allocations are in the president's discretion." That's when I understood how powerful Karen was in our community. She wasn't merely the HOA president, she was a retired real estate agent who had resided in Oakwood Estates for 15 years and was acquainted with half the board members. The conflict came to a boiling point last Saturday. I was off to physical therapy when Karen approached me in the parking lot and took up exactly my assigned parking place. There was her son's black BMW sitting idly in the area next to mine. My son's coming by for the weekend, she added, using the same strained smile. He's moving some big pieces of furniture into my house. You can park somewhere else today. You can walk that much farther, I'm certain. There was a struggle in her eyes. I breathed deeply. Sorry, Mrs. Wilson, but I need this space today. My leg is hurting especially and I have physical therapy in 20 minutes. Her smile disappeared. Listen, kid, I've been understanding with you. Do you know how many strings I had to pull to get my son that parking visitors pass at all? Everyone sacrifices something in a neighborhood. I get it, but this is a legally marked disabled parking space, I said, maintaining my voice tone even as the increasing pain in my leg from standing for so long started to get the better of me. There are 3 visitor parking spaces just around the corner. Karen's face reddened. Do you know who I am? I decide where people park here in this complex. A small group of neighbors had accumulated by this time. A voice cried out, "Leave him alone, Karen. It's his place. It's his place. It's his place. It's his place." That was when she poked a finger into my chest, her tone falling to a menacing whisper. You have no idea who you're messing with. It's his kind to end well for you. It's his kind to end well for you. I didn't then know how prophetic those words would be. Later that same day, after coming home from physical therapy, I pulled into my parking space and went inside to rest. An hour later, I was leaving to get a prescription filled when I caught sight of Karen sitting in her SUV across the parking lot, staring straight at my car. When she spotted me, something shifted in her demeanor. A cold determination for the contempt that normally registered there. I had reached the sidewalk when she revved her engine. I had thought at first she was only trying to scare me. Then she sped straight towards my parked Honda. I couldn't believe my eyes until the collision confirmed it wasn't a bluff. After the first impact, Karen leapt out, screaming about teaching me a lesson and being sick of the system being abused. The front end of my car was smashed, the headlights broken, and my heart sank when I realized my sole vehicle for getting to and from medical visits was now destroyed. Are you insane? I asked, my voice shaking with shock and anger. You just committed a crime on purpose in front of witnesses. No one will believe you. She spat back. This is my community. I control things here. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and called 911. Neighbors were videotaping everything around us. Mrs. Patel from apartment 12 was already on the phone with the police too. Mr. Guzman from the apartment next to mine moved up beside me and put a firm hand on my shoulder. We all witnessed what occurred, he stated loudly, looking straight at Karen. We've all witnessed how she's been harassing you. Karen's bravado seemed to falter for the first time as she looked around at the faces of her neighbors. Faces that were not fear nor submission, but outrage and disgust. She backed up to stand beside her SUV, crossing her arms over herself in a defensive pose. He provoked me, she stated. He's been a challenge from day one. The HOA will back me up on this. The police arrived within minutes. 2 patrol cars with lights flashing. Officer Reynolds, a middle-aged cop with kind eyes, took my statement first while her partner spoke with witnesses. Karen kept interrupting, invoking her position as HOA president, insisting that I had violated numerous community regulations and had been verbally abusive toward her. Officer Reynolds remained professional, but firmly asked Karen to wait her turn. When Karen continued to interrupt, the officer guided her to the second patrol car. I watched as Karen's expressions cycled through indignation, disbelief, and finally fear as the gravity of her actions began to sink in. Multiple witnesses confirm your account, Officer Reynolds told me, returning to complete my statement. And apparently your dashcam caught the whole thing. I had forgotten about the dashcam in the shock of the moment, a detail that would prove critical. As the officers conferred, a tow truck arrived for my damaged car. Neighbors offered rides to my upcoming appointments. Mrs. Patel brought me a chair from her patio so I could sit while waiting, my leg throbbing from standing so long. Then came the moment that would go viral on our community's social media pages. Karen Wilson, HOA president and self-appointed parking czar, being handcuffed and read her rights. You're under arrest for criminal damage to property, reckless endangerment, and assault with a deadly weapon. The officer informed her. This is ridiculous. I'm the HOA president. Karen shrieked as they guided her toward the patrol car. Her face had lost all color except for 2 bright spots of rage on her cheeks. Not for much longer, muttered Mr. Guzman, who I later learned was the HOA treasurer. Within hours, an emergency HOA meeting was called. I attended, supported by several neighbors who had witnessed the incident. Karen's husband sat red-faced in the corner as the board reviewed not only today's events, but the pattern of harassment I had documented over the weeks. My lawyer, a college buddy who specialized in disability law, presented evidence, including emails, the fraudulent violation notices, and testimony from multiple residents who had observed Karen's behavior. The vote was unanimous. Karen was removed from the board, effective immediately. Her husband left without a word, presumably to arrange bail. As for legal consequences, my lawyer informed me that given the premeditated nature of the attack and the clear evidence, Karen was facing serious charges.